Excellent, Pete. Even for you. An outstanding job.
Thanks, Mr. Edwards, but credit the DA's office with a big assist. I did the spade work, and they delivered the knockout punch.
And we wound up with an exclusive. Just what we need to meet Simpson's attempt to cut in on our circulation figures. You'll find a nice, fat bonus check waiting for you in the cashier's cage.
Well, you better save it till the job is finished. There's an angle to this story that might be even better than getting the syndicate. I'm still working on it.
Fair enough. You, ready to tell me about it?
Not until I've wrapped it up in a nice red ribbon, like this one.
Okay. If you need any help, let me know.
I think I can handle it alone.
It was 5 years ago. It's dead and buried.
Buried, maybe, but not dead. I'm digging it up.
But why? What good will it do?
I'll explain it once more. I'm a reporter. It's my job to dig up things that guys like you try to bury. But the banner lead in my paper lacked one important detail. Now, whether or not you help me, I'm gonna dig up the rest of the whole mess. I'm giving you a chance to tell your side of it. Be grateful.
Grateful to you for trying to ruin me.
Save it. I don't do this because I enjoy it. I do it because it has to be done.
It's because my father's paper and your paper are rivals. There's no reason to ruin me.
You don't seem to get the point, Simpson. I started digging into a routine crime story. And before I knew it, I ran across your name. One of the fanciest names in town.
You've broken up the syndicate. You've got your story. Isn't that enough?
No. You and a couple of your spoiled pals got tired of cracking up sports cars and thought it'd be a ball to run a couple of old houses out in the suburbs and let the gamblers move in. You fellas have fun?
It was a stupid stunt, but we pulled out of any connection with it long ago. It's ancient history.
Is it? They'd never have been able to move in if you hadn't given them a legitimate cover. With your initial help, they set up operations. Now, you may be in the clear now, but I'm digging up the rest of the whole story. How you got out, who, where, when. I'm digging it up.
No matter who you hurt.
I just have the shovel. I can't help who's sitting on it when I pull it out. Money?
$10,000. All I could raise without going to my father.
Your father doesn't know?
Only that I gambled at the place. Not that at one time I was partly responsible for it.
I'm sorry for you, Ronnie. Not sorry enough to stop, but sorry.
I could probably raise more if you give me a little time.
I could use 10,000. That'll give you an idea how anxious I am to take this up.
Your son was scared, Mr. Simpson. Real scared.
That figures. What about Richards?
He sized up pretty rough, like always. You know Richards. He's got some poor slob cornered. I'm sorry, Mr. Simpson, the figure of speech.
That's all right, Johnson. I guess that's what my son was, for getting himself mixed up in this. Did he get anywhere at all with Richards?
I don't think so. Looked like he offered him money. Probably that 10 grand he's been raising the last couple of days.
Did Richards take it?
What do you think?
I think my son's in over his head.
Fresh angle beginning to take shape?
It's just a rough to see how it writes. There's still a few points that need nailing down.
Hot.
Enough to rate an extra when I've got it wrapped up.
You know, Pete, there's such a thing as being too serious about your work. Doesn't Jean even kick about the hours you've been keeping lately?
Not Jean, I've got her trained. Right now, she's slaving for me in the kitchen. Excuse me, ma'am. I must have got off the elevator at the wrong floor. I didn't realize that this key fitted every apartment in the building.
But as long as you're here, why don't you stay a while?
Oh, I'd love to, believe me, but I've got a wife somewhere in the building. And she'd take a dim view of something like this.
Well, then, don't let me keep you.
But, I guess what she doesn't know won't hurt her. You were expecting me?
Well, I was hoping all this wouldn't be wasted.
I don't like to see a lady disappointed.
What's she like?
Who?
Your wife.
Oh, her.
Bad as all that, huh?
You know, we could find something more interesting to talk about. You, live here alone?
There's a fellow drops in every once in a while.
It's very thoughtful of you to give me advance notice.
My dinner. Oh.
Get there in time to apply first aid?
We're supposed to be in Hawaii, not a hospital. Boy,
You get fresh with me and I'll try another apartment. All right, sweet hibiscus. What's this all about?
Well, you won't go on a vacation, so I thought I'd bring the vacation here.
Well, how can I go on a vacation? I gotta work to pay for these floor shows you put on.
You work too hard. You need a change.
This is a change.
No, I mean it. We ought to get off together to some island where no one could reach us. Wouldn't you like that?
I got news for you. I've been on an island ever since we got married. They're not building these islands like they used to.
I'm John Simpson, Mr. Richards.
I know.
May I come in?
Sure. This is Mr. Simpson.
I'm glad to know you, Mr. Simpson.
My pleasure, Mrs. Richards. I'm sorry to intrude on your evening like this. I'll make it as brief as possible.
Some things can't wait.
Are you going to talk business?
Well, I guess you could call it that. She's lovely.
Thank you.
She's somewhat of a fool. You're smart.
You might not think so when I turned down your proposition.
Ronnie was stupid to think you could be...
A report, did he?
No, he doesn't realize I know anything about this.
How much do you know?
Well, Johnson told me you'd uncovered a connection my son had with a gambling group several years ago. And despite the fact that he's basically a decent boy, you're determined to ruin him, even to think...
You know a lot.
You forget, I'm a newspaper man, too. I make it my business not to be surprised. Richards, I just want to let you know where we stand.
You're very thoughtful.
You're right. I've thought a lot about this, particularly where you're concerned. There's much about you I've admired. You're a bulldog. When you set your teeth in a problem, you never let go until you've licked it, or it licks you. I like that.
Thank you.
But sometimes we disagree on what constitutes a problem worthy of such tenacity. I understand you, Richards. As a kid, you saw a lot of dirt and rottenness, but couldn't do you'd let this power run away with you. You don't know where to stop.
Like you said, I stop when I've licked it, or it licks me. Otherwise, I keep going, wherever the dirt leads me.
And you'd go anywhere, follow any lead. Even something that's dead and buried. The dirt washed out long ago.
It never washes out.
You won't take my word that my son is better than you think. There's some decency there.
If it's there, I'll find it. And all the rest. I promised myself a long time ago that I'd dig up dirt wherever I found it. I promise you the same thing.
Good night, Mrs. Richards.
It was very nice to meet you.
I'd like to repeat what I told your husband. You're a lovely young woman.
Thank you.
Good night, Richards.
Good night, Mr. Simpson.
What did he want?
A little something hot I'm digging up.
About him?
His son.
Darling, do you think you should? Mr. Simpson's a powerful man in this town. He could hurt you if he fought back.
Honey, I'm no angel, but there's nothing about me I wouldn't tell my worst enemy. Forget it.
He seemed like a nice man.
He is, but I'm writing about his son.
Maybe you ought to think about it before you...
I've thought about it. Hi, Nat. What's eating you?
You and your shovel?
What's up?
You'll find out right in there. Mr. Edwards is waiting for you.
Come in, Pete. We've just been discussing you. I believe you know Mr. Simpson.
Running into Mr. Simpson is becoming a habit. Like all good newspaper men, he doesn't give up easily.
Exactly. And that is a fact that may enable us to get to the subject of this meeting immediately.
If what's in the works means I'm to pigeonhole my story, there's no dice, Mr. Simpson.
Before you jump to any hasty conclusions, Pete, I advise you to listen. Mr. Simpson has come to me with a very serious problem. And even though our newspapers compete for reader interest, we're all human beings with a...
I'd like to ask you a question, Mr. Richards.
Okay, I'm listening.
You have a reputation for integrity and persistence. I'm wondering just how honest you really are.
Meaning what?
Well, I have a little tip on some dirt. Might not lead anywhere. Perhaps you're just the man to find out. But as is the case with my son, I'd have the satisfaction knowing that no one could get to you. Nothing could stop you.
Why bring it to us here? I know better than to expect any favors from competitors.
What Mr. Simpson is trying to say, Pete, does not involve personalities. It's from a newspaper publisher to an honest, hard-hitting reporter. Mr. Simpson wants you to investigate your wife.
Please, Gene, turn it down.
What's wrong with you tonight?
Nothing?
You're a funny man.
Yeah, barrel of laughs.
You are sometimes, but not tonight. When you're like this, I'm afraid.
Of what?
That you don't like me.
I love you.
You're so complicated. You keep everything inside yourself. It's as though you had your own private little mystery.
We all have little mysteries of our own, don't we?
I suppose so.
How about you? I know a lot about you, but it's almost all since we were married.
That's the important thing.
Sometimes I wonder about you. What it was like in that little town you came from. What anything was like before we bumped into each other.
I can't remember anything before we met. I guess that's a pretty good definition of love.
Someday I'd like to hear about it.
Here's everything we could dig up on young Simpson. Most of it's old stuff. Some of it's new.
everyone.
Local playboy Ronnie Simpson and companion Ellen Vincent getting into their car after gambling house raid. This girl look familiar to you?
All right. I knew Ronnie Simpson. Does that make me a criminal?
If the whole thing was so innocent, why have you kept it a secret all these years?
Pete, I've never given you any reason to doubt me or wonder about me. Why do I have to explain now?
Because I'm wondering. And why shouldn't I wonder? Companion Ellen Vincent. I've always had a peculiar notion your name was Jean Wilson. People usually have a pretty good reason for changing their names. What was yours?
Please, Pete, don't push me.
Look, Jean, I know there's a good explanation for all this. You're right. You've never given me any reason to doubt you. Don't start now.
I want you to trust me and believe in me.
I want to.
Not because of any explanations, but because of me, the way I am with you.
That the way you want to handle this?
That's the way I want to handle it.
I want to know about it.
Have you asked Ellen?
I've always known her as Jean.
What did she say?
Nothing. I'm hoping you'll do better.
Why don't you leave it at that, Richards?
She wouldn't talk, and you might not. But I'll find out. You know I will.
Yes, I know. You'll find out something. But aside from Ellen, I'm the only one who knows the truth. You know, I should let you dig this one up for yourself. The garbled hearsay version. I'm sure it would be real dirty. Hit you where it would hurt the most. But I'll tell you the truth. Not for your sake. For Ellen's. It was through Ellen that I first got mixed up with that gambling outfit. She worked for them. She first came into town looking for a job. She was a young kid. Pretty, wide-eyed, innocent. Didn't know what time it was. She met one of them. I guess she thought they were big men, big operators. She was impressed with them. They dressed her in the kind of clothes she'd always heard about. Well, she made a pretty good come on.
You're a liar.
I can stop any time. They wanted to get to me, and they used her. They figured I'd be susceptible, and I guess they were right. It wasn't long after I met her that I set them up in that gambling house outside of town.
Jean was shilling for that outfit?
For a little while.
That's quite the story.
It's the truth. She came to me one day. She wanted to get out and didn't know how. I went over to the club to try to do something for her. They wouldn't listen. I was pretty cocky in those days, so I tried to act tough, but they were tougher. They roughed me up pretty good. Someone ran outside and called the police, and before we could get out, the place was raided. I grabbed Ellen, told the police she was with me and that we were customers, and I paid our fines. That was the last I had anything to do with that outfit. No one ever discovered our real connection.
Why didn't you tell me about this before?
That should be obvious by now, Mr. Richards. My husband was trying to protect your wife.
You've known about this?
Of course. It was before we were married.
After the raid, she didn't know what to do, so I suggested she change her name, and I helped her get a job. A couple of years after that, you came into town. You can take it from there.
I wonder if you can. It won't be easy for you, Mr. Richards, because you're a narrow man. I'm sorry for you. For all the trouble you've caused us, I'm still sorry for you. I love my husband. He's never given me any reason not to. You couldn't really hurt us, because we have the kind of security with each other that a man like you could never understand.
Jean? Jean? Yes?
Richards, I've been trying to reach you. Your wife's gone.
What have you done with her?
I haven't done anything with her. You have. It might not be too late. Johnson trailed her to the bus station.
Bus for Chambersburg, now loading. Bus for Chambersburg, now loading.
I might have known I couldn't escape the bloodhound.
It's a pretty tame bloodhound. I learned a lot today, Jane. All of us can make mistakes.
Really?
It threw me for a while. But it's all right now.
Did I pass some sort of examination?
Jean, don't. Ronnie told me everything. I'm sorry. I should have realized.
You should have. But you didn't.
I'll never doubt you again, Jean. I'm sure of you.
That may be. But I'm not sure of you anymore. I used to be. I always believed that no matter what happened, I could depend on you and rely on you.
Then why didn't you tell me about all this in the beginning? When we first started going with each other?
Because I wanted to marry you very much. I guess I was a little afraid of you even then.
Don't be.
Last call, bus for Chambersburg.
But I am.
Jean. Please come home with me.
No, Pete. You said that being married to me was like living on an island. I thought that was nice. But it isn't really. I don't want to have to live on an island with you to feel secure, protected from everyone and everything. I want to live in the middle of things, knowing that nothing can touch us or harm us. Knowing that nothing can make you wonder. When you come off your island, maybe then. Until then, you have a story to write, remember?
But I'm dropping it. A story, any story, is only worthwhile printing if it serves some good purpose for its readers. And I'm dropping this one. Not because you're my wife, but because it's dead, buried in the past. It'll never be printed.
Maybe not on paper, but it's still in your mind. You think you've forgotten it because you want me to stay. But if I do, you'll only go on wondering.
Last call, bus for Chambersburg. Last call.
Where to and how many?
One, to the mainland.
Huh?
Chambersburg.
Oh, you'll have to hurry.
Don't worry, I won't miss it.
And so ends our play for tonight in a fine performance by Dan Duryea. This front-page newspaper story, Film Idol Big Winner, will give you a clue to next week's drama on your Schlitz Playhouse of Stars. It's a revealing love story in reverse, proving that big winners are more frequently bigger losers, especially when success means more than love. With Dane Clark and Carolyn Jones in the featured roles, here's a play as certain to entertain you as Schlitz is certain to refresh you, lightly. It's so light that it's never filling, even with foods. Schlitz, brewed with just the kiss of the hops. Schlitz, brewed to our modern taste for lightness. Enjoy Schlitz, so preferred that it's the world's largest selling beer. Until next week, this is Bob Page for the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company bidding you a very pleasant good night.